Hey, what's up? Today there is a Craftsman self-propelled with a Honda engine on there, GCV 160. Don't really know a lot about it, except I don't have a bag for this one. This one was given to me for free, and to locate the bag on this is actually quite expensive. So I have a deck that has a bag, self-propelled, and I think this would be a much better motor for it. It's a little bit of a shame to have to waste it, but I mean, it is not necessarily the best condition anyway. But putting that aside, I have no idea about the engine, so before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we're going to want to test it out. It has a little bit of fuel. I pulled on it, didn't do anything, so I think we're going to put a little starting fluid down the throat of the carburetor and then go from there. This has one of those chokes to kind of, it's controlled by this lever. Air filter is disgusting. Just throw that away right now. Choke is off. Oil is full and dirty. I do know that the pull cord doesn't like to retract very fast. No choke. Wow. Besides completely getting everything dirty in here, the RPM is way too high. We might have to adjust the governor, assuming this governor even runs. Not too worried about the cable. I am, however, noticing that the pull cord retracted, so maybe it just had a whole bunch of junk in there, and that, 8,000 RPM we just witnessed broke free of a lot of that stuff. You know what? I think I see it now. Let's put this up and we'll take a look together. I thought when I saw this that was having some type of the problem, but it's not even adding a lot of tension. It's actually probably a little looser than it should be. After that, took these out, and then I checked the throttle, see if there's anything odd with it. And it doesn't move. It's frozen in place. So on a mower, to get it started, they will have it set to, well, pretty much anything will have it set to full throttle, and then the governor, assuming there is one, will lower the RPM down to something that's the more appropriate level. So this definitely has problems, as we can tell. Just going to turn that on right now. The clip is kind of jammed in there. I guess we can kind of get it out now. Checking your throttle and making sure it's not frozen like this is pretty important on certain machines. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's important for all, but others you can get away with a little bit more. Luckily for us, the most forgiving are lawnmowers. If you did this to a pressure washer, you're running the risk of damaging the pump. If you did this on a generator, you're definitely running the risk of frying the generator. While this is dangerous, you can easily hear it and turn it off pretty quickly. Now, that's assuming your kill works. If your kill doesn't work, then you could be in a world of danger, so don't do what I just did. Well, I'm gonna take this to the carb station. So here's some of the joys of a free machine. Usually free machines mean someone tried to work on it, or they don't want to work on it, but couldn't get it to work. This is just disgusting. And sometimes their work is not necessarily the best. Luckily we have another gasket. I have a feeling this might have been glued on there. Kind of surprised that came off so easily. Or this. Oh yeah, you can tell there's water in there right there. There's a definite separation between the fuel. I don't necessarily think this one is dirty. Well, it is, don't get me wrong, but the primary issue isn't that it's plugged, but there's water in there. Pick, maybe help us out here. Not from that side, we're not. There we go. Is this going to come off friendly? Not really. Well, I'm going to work on that. Put this in the cleaner and then I'll bring it back. Something I do want to point out is I started to move it and I literally just heard it pop and it pops right into place. And now it's doing pretty good now. I think the cleaning will also help fix it a little bit more. I took off the gasket from the engine on the intake. Look what I found. Chimera gasket. This is glued together. It's the wrong one on one side, and in fact it might be the wrong one from both sides, I don't know. That supposed to be this, or something close to it. Or, no, it should be this one. In addition, the gasket that's on this spacer, which I still have to clean up a little bit more, had this putty or silicone in the little groove here. That's not good. This is like a vent, and if it's plugged, you're not going to have the correct pressure in your carb, and it's not going to run. So there's just a whole slew of problems. Someone definitely try to do a little funkery on this. There we go. Cover your ears. So, knowing the funkery, where did I put that screwdriver? There we go. Just had it too. I'm going to replace that, both of them. Good thing we're cleaning this. It's like a ½ ounce of fuel in the tank, so I'm going to drain that. But hopefully at that point we should be good. Now we also do need to get a new spring. I do believe I have one. Not too concerned over that spring. Oh, there it is. Wipe it off a little bit. I'll tighten that up after this. We're also missing the idle set in its entirety. I didn't take it off. I'm sure I have an old carb or something that has it. In fact, one might be right here. Oh, never mind, it doesn't need it. Not drilled all the way through. Okay. I'm going to spend a little time cleaning this up because if there's glue on the other side, I'm sure there's some type of glue or putty on this, why it's so hard to take off. And put a new spring on. Put it back on. Give this a pull. See what happens. I figured while I do this, I'll bring you back. Now, the plug is not new yet, and the spring I found is off of old Troy built with a Honda. So while I'm assuming it's the same, in fact it should be, if it's not, we'll have to improvise. We're going to look for two things. One, we're going to make sure this choke returns, and that it obviously is at the right RPM. So when we start it, we're going to have to let it run for a little bit. Fuel's on. Let's see if there's any leaking. I did tighten the bowl nut. Nope. Nice and secure. I put the two new gaskets I was talking about, the gasket in between the intake and the spacer, and the spacer and the carb. Cleaned out all the, I don't know, epoxy, let's call it that, and should be ready to go. We do need choke. think is happening is that spring is not right. I thought it felt a little different. Let me double check if I have another one somewhere. I was able to find another spring, so I think that's pretty much done. But I did notice the recoil is not returning still. And the choke is also not returning. Recoil isn't all that hard to fix, so we'll do that later. So just needing I bet this little lever that holds it in place is not doing anything. Let me hold down the bail and see if I can look at it. Let me put a clamp on that. It could very well be that the cable is just being stretched. Or just a bad cable. Definitely think this is a little bit out of adjustment. Now, let's take the whole thing off. Let's unplug this. That spark plug looks like total trash. I mean, it's E3. What can you say? Something's causing it to get hung up. Right about there. I think there's like something stuck in there. Oh, couldn't have been that easy, could it? Okay, so now pull the pull cable. And it seems to be going. So I think I'm gonna maybe put a little lubrification in there and try this again. Lubed it up a little bit. So now it's engaged. We pull down. and it retracts. Usually there would be something on this to really ensure for there's a spring on the carburetor, let's put it that way. Take this off. I need to take off the carb anyway because I think there's a problem with the jetting. So if your choke isn't running very well, this could very well be the reason why. That's the wrong side. These are different sizes. You don't want to tighten it down because you don't know if you're going to be able to get the second one in yet. Okay, and the recoil, like I said, is really easy. A little oil. So it'll work itself in there. Later on, I'm gonna work on that a little bit more, but that's all you really have to do. Just kind of work the oil in. Sometimes, to make it easier, now this is a opposite thread, so tightening is loosening on this. Take it a little bit off. Make sure your dogs are still lined up. And now lubricate it. That one just slipped out. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna work with that a little bit. Be right back. I realized that I didn't actually put the linkage back when I put the choke mechanism back on. So I did that. Got the carb done. Put a new spark plug in there because it was disgusting, and fuel's on, no leaking. I worked a little bit more on the pull starter, and it appears that it's pretty good now. So I'll go ahead, let's go ahead and give it a pull and see what happens. has a little hiccup there. So this cable is really bad. I don't think the cable is actually giving enough travel to get this mechanism to work. So I'm not too concerned about that because this is not going to be what's gone there. If you were going to leave it on there, you'd have to get a new cable or bend it back a little bit more so it requires less. But we're not going to worry about that. This runs. The deck, front wheels do not work. I do not know why. To be honest, I don't care because it's going to go on a different deck. And yeah, if you're having a problem with your GCV 160, you know, the carb was definitely a problem. The auto, or not auto, but the choke mechanism was definitely a good problem. And you should never put epoxy on your carburetor sealing surfaces. It's not a good idea. The gasket's enough to seal it properly. Don't do that. In fact, you're going to be closing off passageways. Closing off passageways is not a good thing because if, for instance, this one, the breather vent was blocked, it will cause the carb to not be able to have the right pressure inside the bowl to then allow the fuel to go up. It will actually cause it so there is no fuel going up and you're not going to be running very well, if at all. Okay, catch me in the next video. See you later. Have a good night.